quiet seaside town, an evil lain to rest centuries ago, has risen. An abandoned fortress deep in the swamp holds a secret that could save the village or destroy it. Now, a band of adventurers sets out to dig up the wounds of the past and bring the light of day to the roots of ruin. This is Tabletop Gold.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Tabletop Gold, episode 183. My name is Lars, Casteen. I'll be your host this evening. Sometimes I call myself the Golden Tyrant. Sometimes other people, and this is the most surprising thing to me, sometimes other people call me the Golden Tyrant. It turns out all you have to do to get people to call you something is just call yourself it on the internet like 150 times, and then they'll eventually follow your lead, which is crazy. Hi, welcome. Yeah, welcome to the show. I'm joined by everybody else who's on the show too. Let's say hi to them. It's Robin Lange. Hi, Robin.
Hello. Good that time.
Good that time. David the Tin Man Chernicoff is here.
Good that time.
Zoe Chernicoff is also here.
Good that time.
And our Matt Humphreys is here as well.
Good New Year time, friends.
Ooh.
It is a good New Year time. We are. So you're hearing this on the 27th-ish of January, but this is our first time recording after a little bit of a time off, a little bit of a break for New Year's and holidays and all of that kind of thing. And what I want to talk about today before we get into our game is because I've had time to stew on things other than what it is that we do on this podcast for like a week and a half. This conversation that we're going to have now, I think, is going to get maybe a little bit heady, maybe a little bit conjectural, maybe a little bit... if you're the sort of person who describes like the sound of people talking about topics that they don't understand as though it sounds like stoners talking about stuff just because it sounds cool, this might not be the conversation for you, but guess what? It's the conversation for me. I think this is going to be interesting and cool. So strap in, okay? Get ready.
Buckle up.
Okay. I was talking to my son yesterday or the day before about something involving like what was here before we were here, right? A pretty like steady topic of conversation with a 5-year-old. And he said something like, well, what was here a trillion years ago? And I was like, hold on a second. I got to look up the age of the universe.
It's definitely a lot shorter than a trillion.
It's so much shorter than that. The universe has only been around for 12.8 billion years.
Yeah, like 13 billion years.
Yeah, I went to according to like the most, I can't say for sure. People, if you're watching this 50
really
years,
knows. Nobody
really knows. And I want you to understand this. We're recording this early in 2025. This is the best information that we have now. If something comes out like in 2028 that the universe is actually like 3 weeks old and like we were like way wrong, I'm sorry. We just didn't know.
It is all a simulation.
Yeah. Like sorry, we didn't know. We didn't know. You know now. We didn't know then. So fucking like relaxed, okay?
Cool.
But I was like, it's only 12.8 billion years ago. So the idea I was trying to talk to him was like a trillion years ago. They say that time started at the beginning of the universe. So that's like an idea that doesn't even, I don't think, exist. Like there's no way to like imagine such a thing. And then I got to thinking the following thing, and I want to bounce this off you, and you tell me if you think this is interesting and mind blowing or stupid, and I should shut up. So, okay.
Those are the two options?
I think you're going to hear the thing, you're going to be like, those were definitely the two options.
Okay.
There are 7 billion people on Earth, right? Like that's the current number of people that there are on Earth.
Getting close to 8.
Getting close to 8. Okay, fair enough. That only helps my argument. So thank you. But
it was 6 billion when we were kids. It's amazing how much it's grown.
It was like five,
it was
and
five,
then it was,
I remember it was a big deal when it became 6 billion.
When it hit 6,
Yeah.
It's anyway.
We threw a party. Everybody was like, doo, doo, doo. We lit a candle with 6 billion cakes on it or whatever.
We all got together and threw a no
candle
downside to this party.
That's right, Robin.
The more
candle
the
with 6 billion
merrier.
cakes.
That's what you said, sir.
It is what I said. Okay, listen, you're getting me off track for this inanity that I ought to throw up in this podcast. But what that says to me is like, if you were to take the experiences of every single person who's been alive for 2 years, that's more experience than the entire universe has.
Wow.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Well, I guess maybe, Lars, the question is a year of single person experience.
Mm-hmm.
You've equated that, you've made that equivalent to a year of universe experience, which if we are rendering the universe as sort of a single entity, sure, there's also a sense in which like the universe contains all the other stuff. So the amount of aggregate experience that it,
contains
would be. But I mean,
but
I don't know that I'm making an interesting point. I just,
I think you are.
I'm just trying to figure out if you were.
Yeah, I don't know. We got to look at this from a few different ways. Do you ever? Okay, let me like broaden this question out to make it something that we can actually have a conversation about. I was struck in this, like, in considering the universe this way, that like maybe the universe isn't actually as big or as old as, like, maybe everything is slightly less overwhelming than we believe it is. Do you ever have moments like that where you think about space, the cosmos, in a way that like helps you feel comfortable? This is a weird question. I apologize for this whole thing. I just like my thing. Okay.
I'm not. You're getting a thinking face from me, not a why is he saying this face. I just really earnestly want to follow.
I think feel more overwhelmed than comforted ever. Like you said that thing about how was it in the last 2 years?
Yeah.
If you calculate like a year of experience of every single person in the world, that's more than the history of the planet,
of the universe,
like,
not
the
just
universe,
the planet.
like,
the planet's much younger than that.
That is wild. It made me also think like just how many hours even. I had to go look at how many hours of videos are on YouTube.
Oh, that you can't even go there.
The estimate, the estimate that I'm seeing right now is over 156 million hours. So that's 17,810 consecutive years of video watching.
Wow.
Yeah.
For you to try and watch everything on YouTube.
Really good.
really good.
And we're just adding to it. Just thinking about how much humans have created and consistently create and just leave scattered everywhere, whether it's a digital footprint or an actual physical footprint, is mind-boggling because we will never, there's no possible way to know everything. However, I am reading a book right now. David Mitchell, I love his stuff. This is his book from like 10 years ago called The Bone Clocks. And without giving any spoilers away, there is this concept that he takes the idea of reincarnation and says, what if souls were aware of their reincarnation and didn't forget anything? And that you have people who have lived essentially for thousands of years, but it's just in different bodies for each reincarnation.
Well, I'll tell you what happens, Robin. Nobody fucking believes you. You just keep saying, no. I've got something for this.
Right. It's just Cassandra every lifetime.
You learn to keep it to yourself.
I have 2 time thoughts. One is, it's really weird when you think about it that our consciousness only works in one direction in time. Like if time is a 4th dimension in the way that it's described, and like, I mean, this is because I'm a 3-dimensional entity and I can't physically conceive of what a 5th dimension would be like. Like I'm a flatlander, right?
You sound so 3-dimensional right now. It's like ridiculous. You should hear yourself.
Don't even get me started.
No, Armat, what I have had this thought before, but I think it's the thing you said about being a flatlander is closer to, like, in the sense that a flatlander is a 2-dimensional. That's like a 2-dimensional stick figure that lives on a planar, on a piece of paper,
exactly,
and doesn't know that. Okay, not only is it that our minds are stuck only going one dimension through, or one way through the 4th dimension through time.
Right.
That sort of is the definition of what we are. What we are beings that are fully in 1, 2, and 3 dimensions, but then can only go linearly through the 4th. That like is what a conscious person is.
It's weird, right? It's so weird.
I don't think it's right. I don't think we should accept it.
Quite odd.
I think we should renegotiate.
Okay, but okay. So wait, a minute ago we were talking, or
Was it a
Lars, I
minute
think
ago?
you said that this makes you feel comforted, and Robin, you said it makes you feel overwhelmed. Like
Yeah.
it basically puts Lars, you're sort of like, oh well, if everything's that big, then and Robin's like, oh my god, everything's so big.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want
my
to play
FOMO.
with the hypothesis that this is sort of a Rorschach.
Ah,
You love a
I like
Rorschach.
that.
David loves a Rorschach.
Well, I think they
today.
As someone who's lived many lifetimes, it's the only way he can get anyone to pay any attention.
I've noticed that they happen all the time over the millennia.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Pattern
and I will
recognition.
I will throw out there like that universe is big and I'm small thing.
Mm.
Oftentimes one of the first things that I think after that isn't and therefore everything's okay, or like and therefore nothing's okay.
Mm.
It's like, well, why the fuck am I running around doing all this shit for?
Yeah.
Great
And
point.
It's a good question.
Why
It's
are
really
we
and that's
here?
kind of that's a little bit of like a self-critical. It's like, well,
Yeah,
then
you're
I'm not
kind of-
doing this right, which is very much like a place that I would go for it. So that's kind of what makes me, I don't know. Our matter, Zoe, like what does this do for you?
Yeah, Zoe, how do you feel about this nonsense that we're
Yeah.
talking about?
She's just waiting for it to end, I think.
No. Well, like I think it just sounds like I was ruminating on the point Armat was making. The one you were making was super good, babe. I just couldn't follow it because of its millennia of wisdom that it packed with it.
I'll allow it.
I think it was
like,
a compliment.
It's super weird that like the constraint of one dimensional and time exists, given how improbable all of this is, right? Like
Absolutely.
based on what we know, and
Mm.
again, it's early January 2025, like
Mhm.
only planet out there in this vast cosmic universe where like some set of things happen that like we got oceans and air and there's living creatures and
Mm.
like that ranges from fucking seahorses to like peregrine falcons to elephants
And like
Yeah.
tapeworms.
and people. And then we're all hung up on like money and skyscrapers,
Yeah.
but like we're confined in time. Like everything else is just so bonkers. I don't know. It's just it's like such a funny ratchet constraint to have.
All right, so Zoe finds it funny. I think our Rorschach thing is
There it is.
still on
The
track.
other thing my mind does anytime this kind of thing comes up is I just immediately go to Douglas Adams. The other thing I'm
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
about
yeah,
in this, the
totally,
difference
yeah.
between Lars and Robin, there's the I can't even remember which book. I think it's Mostly Harmless, but they put Zaphod Beeblebrox in the like torture device, which is supposed to make you realize how small you are in the
Yeah,
galaxy.
Yeah.
And people's like minds break. But because they're in a simulation version, when they do it to him, he sees himself as the center of the universe.
Yeah. And he's like, this is great.
And he's
I
like,
love
this
this.
is great. This is very self-affirming. But I feel like Lars got the Zaphod Beeblebrox version
Yep,
and
that's
Robin
right.
got the
That's
real
right.
version.
I got the
That's right.
I got the Trill.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't her name Trillian in that?
Her name is Trillian.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Trillian, yeah.
I believe that was the restaurant at the end of the universe.
Okay.
I think that was
Yes.
the second one.
Trill is also a pretty good Paul Wall song, just for the record.
There it is.
Yeah.
With so much time in the universe that Paul Wall had the option to make the song Trill, and we've done it. Thanks for talking about. I don't know if that was enjoyable to anybody at home. I
had a great
I
time.
have
That's
such-
not my concern at
Okay.
all.
Okay, I have such an appetite for dumb, like thinking about space and time and Earth and stuff. Like, I just love it.
Yeah.
There's really no way to do it responsibly with the limited amount of knowledge that I have, where I don't understand anything, and like I'm just like, whoa, the entire time, and I'm
Everyone's
satisfied
making
by
it
that.
up anyway.
Same
Yeah.
team.
Okay, well, fair
Same
enough.
team.
Speaking of making it up, what do you say we get into it and start playing our game?
Let's do it.
Right.
Right.
Giddy up.
500 years ago, when Belcora Haravex built her formidable Abomination vaults, she despoiled the natural splendor of the Darklands with extensive construction meant to harness and exploit the power of the region's natural resources. You've just stumbled into one of the buildings placed here during that time and are perhaps surprised to discover that it is inhabited by a number of Caligni, darkness-loving humanoids that typically reside much deeper below the surface of Galarian. This is not your first exposure to Caligni in this area, though. One floor above, you found that a group of them had created a cult dedicated to worshipping a creature called Earthagul. You learned from the head cultist of that group, Custodian Dulak, that the Caligni had come so close to the surface because a recent cataclysm in their home pushed them to search for a new one. Subsequently, the Erthagul cult splintered off from the larger group of Caligni refugees, much to the chagrin of their leader, a woman named Galudu. After you helped the cult of Erthagul reconnect with the object of their worship, Dulak promised to put in a good word for you with the larger Caligni settlement, and it seems now that this promise has been kept. Upon entering this Belcora-constructed building, the Caligni residents have recognized you as those who befriended the Caligni and aided the cult of Erthagul, and have just invited you to speak with this Galudu. So before we jump into the story, I just need to ask you a question. Did you understand what it is that I just said? Like, there's so much backgrounds and story here. I want to make sure that we all get it before we push forward.
These guys like the guy up in the cave who's clearly intoxicated by the cave and think he's legit.
No.
No, they're the enemies of those guys.
Dulak is the one with the groovy Erthagul cult. Galudu is the
like,
one who's
y'all are
like,
idiots.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All of these Caligni came from a home and migrated up here. Dulak then discovered Erthagul and was like, the Gug in the cave where you all did the like magic mushrooms episode.
The guy with our lens.
The guy with your lens. And Dulak believed falsely that Erthagul was a mystic, that it wasn't the cave that's magical as you have all ascertained, but that Erthagul himself had like incredible power to create visions and whispers and things like that. You discovered that wasn't true, but you allowed Dulak to like reconnect with Erthagul in that cult.
Okay.
But you also learned from Dulak that that her cult, the cult of Erthagul, are still connected to Caligni that live deeper below. That's who you've just discovered. You've just met members of this Caligni settlement who have told you that they want to introduce you to Galudu. So you know that Dulak and Galudu used to be allies, but now they have split off because Dulak believes that Erthagul, the Gug, is a powerful mystic.
Can I make a confession?
Please.
Every time you say Galudu, I just start hearing the lyric from Shoop with voodoo substituted in with Galudu. And so I get hung up on that.
I've been
the Galudu that you do so well.
Exactly.
That's what I've been thinking this
happening
whole
for me.
time.
Okay.
Except in my head, it was Sean Connery saying it. So,
Okay, well, I can't account for
That's
that.
a whole different issue.
Galudu, that's you do.
Sean Connery singing Shoop. I want to hear that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Junior,
Want to
you
shoot.
just shooped.
Shoopy doop.
There
Okay.
comes a point when you will exhale.
Does it make sense now? Here's the thing. I listen to these actual play podcasts, and sometimes I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't remember that stuff from 18 episodes ago. Are you crazy? So I just want to make sure that we all get it. If we get it, I think there's a chance that the people at home will get it. So do we get it?
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
This guy is if we meet Shoop, then he'll know what's up actually, and Dulak didn't.
I guess. That's fine. Yeah, sure, exactly. Okay, so we're
Is this your way
picking.
of telling us we rolled a bad recall knowledge? What's going on?
No, you're good. Everything's good. We're gonna move forward. You're currently standing. You've just opened the door to this like fortified lodge that's in the middle of the hunting grounds. The hunting grounds are this rolling hills, fungus everywhere, like life abounding, and this is a building that has been plonked down in the middle of it. You stepped into this room. The hall itself is dilapidated, has fallen on disrepair, and you get the sense that these Caligni are basically like squatting here. One of them shouts out to you, "These are the ones that Galudu said would come. If you follow us, we can have you meet with Galudu now." What do you do?
Iston would move to follow unless anyone else.
Yeah.
You guys know Dara the spider? Ao asks.
She's not named after the spider.
So Ao's still Dara right now, right?
No, she's
I think
Ao.
Ao's Ao.
Oh,
Yeah,
Ao
she's
changed
Ao.
back. Okay.
The Caligny responds,
That's the most important thing. What does Ao look like?
I'm afraid I don't know what that is, but we have not been doing very well here, so there are many things on the outside that we are unaware of. I'm sorry that I can't help you, but please come with me. And this Caligny walks down to this door to the southeastern corner of this great hall and asks you to follow. So you step into this next room. This is a small, tight room that's just filled with piles of broken furniture. There are rags all over the place. It's just garbage that's been dumped into this room, like stuff that would have been here when this was a more populated, more successfully used building, but is now just sort of fallen to the wayside. And this Caligny that's leading the way steps forward into another room, and you see, perhaps confirming your suspicions earlier, that this room that you've stepped into has another one of those one-way magical stone viewing windows. This one also a hemisphere similar to the room that you saw upstairs that the drow were keeping watch in. So there's a large bay window looking out onto the wilderness outside of this lodge, but it's hard to see through this wall because it is covered with just dirt, grime, dried, it is fallen, it has not been cleaned. It is difficult to use, difficult to see through. There is a makeshift table that's been set up in the center of the room, and there is a sleeping mat that is rolled up to one side of it. You see, standing in the room, noting you as you step in, another Caligny woman. This one has
A Pokeball.
in the art has a Pokeball.
Well, that's a Mega Ball too.
Yeah, that's always going to catch, or it's going to catch medium level Pokemon 35% of the time. So, but she's wearing she's wearing ornate robes and keenly appointed armor, as though she is some sort of a spellcaster, a mystic, a figure of some renown in the Caligny
Sounds like
community
Team
here.
Rocket.
And she's gonna blast off right about now. So yeah, she notes you and she says, "Thank you for coming here. My name is Galudu. I've heard about you from custodian Duloc upstairs, and I'm glad to talk to you." She leans against this table and she looks at you and says, "You have come here from far above. We have come here from far below. I heard from the delusional fanatics upstairs that you are to be trusted. I take their recommendation, though I don't fully feel as though I can rely on it. Please tell me who you are and why you are so far from home."
Oh, well, we're from above, but some of us I'm from far away, but this girl here, she's from Otari and he's from Absalon, and we don't really know where Ao's from. But anyway,
The stars, she says.
Astrology lore. It makes sense now.
and she goes into the explanation how the town was, they could tell something weird was happening in the lighthouse, and as they've been journeying, they have found evidence that Belcora is trying to threaten the lives of everyone, and so they're here to try and stop Belcora and Nimbleoth.
As you finish this summation, she sighs and she says, "Once again, we have stumbled into affairs that are far beyond anything that we can hope to help with. From the moment we left our home, we have been struggling for survival. This situation with this Belcora seems of incredible importance, and I apologize that I would ask you for a favor when I am afraid I have very little to offer. We are not strong enough to survive here for much longer. Every time we send a hunting party out, there's a chance that they'll return with fewer than they left with. Our morale is suffering and we're running out of people. If you would give us help, we will accept it. She sort of stands there, like looking kind of contrite and embarrassed that she is needing to ask for help in this moment.
Do you know where the casualties are coming from? Is it the dragon?
The dragon.
Good thinking, you.
Ayo goes for a high five while she keeps making eye contact with.
Yeah,
Billy
Iston
do.
enthusiastically gets
Yeah.
distracted by the high five. He's really hyped about that.
The dragon definitely has cut some of us down, but it has not taken a dragon to make our hunting difficult here, to make survival a task. The dragon it's interesting that you mention that because that is of direct importance to us. We have a band here that we need to move out of this area. We found 2 ways to escape. To the east, she motions towards the wall behind her. To the east, there is the lair of a dragon. To the south, there is some sort of a daemon that lives within the mists. Those are our 2 possible exits to lead all of our people through. Our people need a safe exit from the place. If you're able to clear the way either to the east with the dragon or to the south through the mists, and then if you could escort us through that passage, perhaps it'll lead us to find a more hospitable place for our survival.
There's a great bakery a couple floors up. Any of your people bakers by trade? It's we're still pretty low in the I don't want to call it a pyramid, the totem pole. It'd be a great place for y'all. You still get to be underground, but you get to be part of a really lucrative business scheme.
She starts chanting
For a cake.
and twisting her
Roll
arm.
for initiative.
She starts chanting and twisting her arm in a circle, and she's no. And within her hand, a swirling magical energy dissipates, and you see a
A
cake
muffin.
that she's manifested in her hand.
Is it a
And she
Madeline?
says, "We have little need for cakes. I'm able to create some food magically here to sustain our
Ayo
number."
raises her hand while this is going on.
Yes, the kitsune in the back.
Why are you hunting if you can physically manifest baked goods that feed your people?
She's like, "Look, I can make 3 of these in a day.
Right,
It's
no
really,
We're all keto, all right?
it's really hard." And she's like, "And I also only just flavor casted this. That took an actual hour if I were actually following the rules of the game. Yes.
Have you thought about monetizing your hobby?
I'm not sure that I would call the magical energies roiling within my soul a hobby, but I do see your point."
It's limited edition. You can only make 3 a day.
Mag from the back of the
good
group
thinking, Trill.
clears her throat.
Yes.
We plan to clear the dragon from its lair east of here. And when that work is complete,
Yes.
we would be happy to escort your people through the passageway that it will create.
Ayo raises her hand again.
Yes, the kitsune again.
For a price, right? She looks around at Trill and Iston and Mag. No? Are we doing charity work now?
She says, "I of course would not expect anything to be done for free. This is a brutal
Some
place."
sort of exchange.
Yes, of course. I've seen the bloodthirsty animals living outside this lodge. I was sure that there would be a similar interest in taking something from us from anybody that we would ask for help. Anyway, here's what I have to offer, you craven, money-hungry monsters. Just kidding, your guys.
Ayo just nods along knowingly.
She reaches into a belt and she pulls out a wand. This wand is covered with yellow spirals of energy, almost like glowing embers, sort of wrapped around the wand.
Okay.
Sounds like a special wand.
And she says, "This wand carries with it magic to help your defenses. It can make your skin tough like the stone of a mountain. And it can make your skin stay that way for a very long time. And the object she's holding up is something called a wand of continuation. This is a wand that increases the duration of a spell that it casts by 50%.
Ooh.
And so this one will be a strong defensive tool.
Like stone skin?
Yeah, it's the spell that used to be bark skin or whatever.
Oh,
it is.
yeah. That we cast on Mag once. And it was
Exactly.
awesome.
It's that spell.
It had like a potion or something. Yeah.
And she says, I would ask you, though, that you escort us. I can give you the wand as soon as you have cleared the way for the dragon.
Oh, an
But
escort job.
We
That's
will
easy.
need an escort because every time we venture out of this lodge in any number, there are bands of Urdefons, blood eaters that swarm us and attempt to kill us.
Right, you mentioned these bands before. What kind of sound do they have? Is it like Arcana Core? Is it Bard Hop?
It's worse than that. It's post-rock.
Oh,
It's
good.
loathsome, disgusting music. It's terrible.
Yeah, that does sound terrible.
From the back of the group, Mag clears her throat again.
Yes, the human.
What dealings have you had with the dragon? What can you tell us of its tendencies, its environment, anything that you know of it?
Directly to our east, there is a unnatural sort of swamp. When our first party ventured into it, we did not know why or what could have created thick, dark mud and strange plant life growing in such a place. It's unlike anything else around here. And that mystery was quickly solved as from the shadows, one by one, we were picked off. Only one of our number was left, I believe intentionally, to escape, to perhaps spread fear of the dragon living there. And that fear certainly took hold. We do not go in that direction anymore, even though we know the path is wide enough for us to escape through. I'm afraid that our knowledge of the dragon is limited to that. None of our number can hope to survive an interaction with that kind of creature. I'm sorry.
No apologies are called for. It does sound like the dragon with which we are all too familiar.
Ravarex, Ao says with jazz hands.
Jazz hands, yeah.
Is that his name?
That's what we've been told.
Cool. I mean, it's a kind of badass name. Not like a Galudo.
Avrax be.
Right, there is a tonal shift between those two things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them feels more like a pin and the other feels more like a cushion.
Yeah, it was a real Booba and Kiki situation between
Oh,
Galudo and Ravarex.
Right.
There I was born to my weird parents. A
What were their
little
names
Booba.
again?
What were their names? You're asking me?
Yeah.
Jubo.
Jubo.
Jubo. And Boobo. They looked at me and they said, This will be the one to mistakenly lead our number into a place that she has no hope of rescuing them from.
And your 7 brothers and sisters.
Yeah, my 7 brothers and sisters. Gary.
What would you say their names were?
Oh, their names. Yes, of course.
Gary, Mary, Barry, Jerry,
You've met
Harry. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Just I've learned a bit about.
she
naming
probably saw the
practices.
illustration of all of my siblings' names that I have on the wall behind me.
Yeah, and like it's one of those shots in a movie where like the thing that's in the foreground has been in focus and the background's
Right.
been blurry, but then the foreground goes into and
I
You see the
imagine it like,
background?
you know how some
Yes.
people have those car bumper stickers of stick figures of
Yes.
the number of people in their family, and it's
And
just
The
Jubo
dad is
and
Darth
Bubo.
Vader or something like that.
Yeah, and then
Bunch
eight
of nerds.
small stick figures.
You know,
Exactly.
since we're talking,
And a Yoda. What?
Is that you, Gludu? The Yoda?
I was the Yoda in my family.
I'm so sorry. You
It
had to
explains
bear
a
that
lot,
burden.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure to put on a child.
So we can't get the wand now?
I'm sorry. The wand is all we have. I have no way of trusting you. I cannot willingly give the wand over at this
I
point.
get it. That's fair. That's fair. Ayo, that's fair.
It just seems like it would be so helpful for fighting a dragon. And she like pouts.
So when do you want to leave?
We'll leave as soon as you are ready to lead the way. I regret that we will have to leave Duloc upstairs to her mania, to her belief.
We'll probably see where she is eventually. We'll probably have to go back up there and we'll let her know where you ended up.
Right. We have to get the lens from Erthagol, and I have to imagine that's going to sort of pull the rug out from the whole Erthagol as great mystic narrative.
Thank you for coming and speaking with me. Would anybody like this cake that I made?
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Oh, it's all right, mate.
And she offers the cake over.
Dig in.
It's fine.
could we roll a d20 to determine how good a cake it is?
Yeah, let's roll a d20. Let's do a flat check on the cake.
Love it.
Here we go.
That's fine.
What did you roll?
Roll a 7.
7. I think that's about right. Yeah, it's like a pumpkin muffin.
Too much nutmeg.
Trill.
Too much nutmeg.
Trill leans
Kinda
over to
stale.
Ao
Punk
and
out.
says, I don't think this is actually what we want for our brand.
I'm glad they're sending hunters out, honestly, to live on this. Whoa, fate worse.
I was just like spitting the crumbs out.
I can hear you. I'm still right here.
Well, honestly, it's for your own benefit because this is bad work.
If you
You
listen,
we're going to
Listen.
tell
No.
Duloc that she's not smart for worshipping a gug, and I need to do the same tough love with you. You got so much to give, Galudu. Your name just brings me so much joy, and I need your cakes to do the same, okay?
The flavor could be better. The bottom's a little soggy.
you think it's soggy?
It's a bit
Okay.
claggy.
Listen.
you know?
It's somehow
Okay.
both soggy and dry.
I didn't have anywhere near the 1 hour it actually takes to cast the spell. When you come back, I'll have done the spell correctly, and then I beg that you, 1,
Wait,
go clear the dragon out to the east. 2, just give me time and keep an open mind about these muffins.
All right, that's
Wait,
fair.
I thought we were escorting you somewhere.
Well, first you have to kill
first you have to
the
kill-
dragon.
Oh,
Checked out.
one more pertinent question before
Please.
we go deal with Ravarex.
Hmm.
How many of you are there that we'll have to escort?
It's a good question. There are only 8 of us remaining, I think.
And they are
Very middling warriors. In our culture, you earn a name once you have won a fight.
once you can make a muffin of 7 or higher.
Exactly. I just recently earned my name. I know I said the earlier thing about my parents calling me the thing, but
You need at least a 35th percentile muffin.
and none of them are even scraping the bottom of the target, for sure.
Well, it's clear why she needs our help, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of scraping, Mag sensed that it was pumpkin spice from its aroma, and she just slipped it into the bag of holding.
Under P for pump out.
Under W for waste.
Harsh but
What?
fair.
Well, she's just throwing it away. She just doesn't want it, but she wanted to be polite.
No, I get it.
So she pretended to eat it, but instead she sent it to a different plane where it wouldn't take up any space. She puts the muffin in Trill's hair.
Hey. Her wig is already at capacity, thank you.
So it falls on the floor.
Oh, you dropped this. Let me pick it up for you. She picks it up and blows on it wetly with her mouth and then hands it back to you.
Yeah. Mag eats it, and her expression does not change.
Okay, so question to the group then.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm looking just at Trill's stats. So Trill, I have no 5th rank spells left, which isn't a huge thing. It's just it's losing synesthesia and etheric shards, and then the 5th rank soothe option. Do we want to go directly into dealing with the dragon now that we know that as our next step, or do we want to go back first, break, and get that
the runes
and get that
on
rune
the
put on?
armor,
Well,
yeah.
In a twist befitting our opening conversation in this episode, we're so far underground. I don't even know what time of day it is, or what that even means
time is an
anymore
illusion here.
down here. We have though gotten. We just got these runes at the end of our last fight that seem really good and way too powerful to pass up.
Yeah.
Trying to use.
Why would we just leave those on the table when we're about to go into a big fight?
Yeah, so maybe we should go back and go to sleep and then and gear up.
Pay someone to put those runes on.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially if they look good with their shirt off while they're smithying. Like that one guy with his forge. Remember
Trill's
him?
paying attention.
Barkenbuck.
Oh, the devil. The what's his name?
Barkenbuck.
Barkenbuck. Yup.
Barkenbuck.
Oh, tasty little snack.
Oh, I miss him.
Trill loved them muscles.
Well, I've been looking up runes.
Mm-hmm.
There's some great ones.
Sure.
How do armor runes and weapon runes are not the same thing. It's just different.
Let's just talk about runes for a second. Let's do
Yes.
a little explainer about runes in case people listening to this show don't know about runes yet. Basically, the deal in this game is that there are things called fundamental runes and there are things called property runes. There are 2 kinds of fundamental runes. For weapons, there are potency runes, which is the +1, +2, +3, etc. Then there are the striking runes, which are striking, greater striking, and major striking that increase the number of dice, right? Those are the fundamental runes. For armor, those fundamental runes are potency runes, which give you +1, +2, +3 armor stuff, to your armor class is what I mean.
Yeah.
And then there are resilience runes, which gives you +1, +2, +3 to your saves, right? So those are all the fundamental runes. Then there are also property runes, which are the system in this game by which you can modify and customize weapons to make them do exactly what it is that you want them to do. And those are the things that are shocking, that add electricity, or vitalizing, that add the vitality magic and that kind of thing. Those exist for both armor and for weapons. The number of property runes you're allowed to have on any given armor or weapon is equal to the value of the potency rune. So if you have a +1 weapon, you can have 1 property rune on it. If you have a +2 weapon, you can have 2 property runes on it. So as your weapon becomes more precise, as you make it a +1 greatsword, a +2 greatsword, a +3 greatsword, then you get to also add, it does electricity and fire and crushing, or, it does vitalizing and lightning and whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so that system exists for both weapons and armor. The 2 runes that you found last time were just potency runes, 1 on a knife that can be transferred for a weapon, and then 1 on a stone that can be transferred to an armor. So weapon potency runes are one thing, armor potency runes are another thing. You have 1 of each of them. Did that make sense?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The it's still hard to pick runes, but
It's really hard to pick runes. I agree. There's this book, this game has a phone book full of options that you can take, and this stuff is either your approach can be, we're going to use the stuff that we find in this adventure, or your approach can be, I'm going to spend a lot of time outside of game, dialing up what exactly it is that I want so I can be ready the next time we play to know what it is that I'm buying. I think
Right,
those are
which
kind of
is
the
what-
2 approaches.
which is what I planned to do at the end of our last session, and then I just left all the tabs open, but I didn't actually.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to if you want to buy a property rune, I'm happy to retcon that after the fact.
right.
That's not a big deal to me.
Yeah, because there's some tasty options.
So it is presently 7:20 in the evening. Would you like to go back to Ildaris? Sounds like that's the approach.
Yeah. Sounds good
I think
to me.
so.
Okay. So you work your way back down through the hunting grounds into the secret passage, past these mists, this mist that you see that Galudu referred to, that again is hanging on the southern end of this hall, of this cavern that you stick to the northern side of. You work your way into the secret door leading into Ildaris, and a few moments later, you are standing in the great hall at the center of Ildaris, and there is a blacksmith there ready to I have a woman here. You wanted to do shirtless? I don't know if that's exactly the tone of the show that I want to do. Let me find a man. Give me a sec.
Like
Look, we
just a
can
little sports
compromise
bra.
at chainmail
They don't have
bikini,
to be
right?
shirtless.
What are shirts?
Okay, just kidding. So we got a dude here now. A dude walks up and he's like, I will take over for you. And he walks up, takes off his shirt, and he says, all right, it's time for us to get to business.
You making a muffin? You think you can break through 35th percentile?
No, I'm afraid I don't understand the reference. Sounds like you're speaking of Caligny. That muffin talk. I don't like it. But yeah, this drow gentleman is able to for a fee move these runes around. So what are we doing? How are we adjusting our weapons? Let's just talk about it real loosely, and they'll be ready for you when you wake up tomorrow morning.
I would like to put the +2 potency weapon rune on the Earthbreaker, please and thank you.
Yes.
Checks out.
Which would mean that it becomes a +2 Earthbreaker,
Mm-hmm.
and also that it can keep its crushing rune and, in theory, get another property rune
Correct.
put onto it.
Yes.
And I would be very curious y'all's thoughts on a new toy.
And we know the dragon spits acid.
Right, so you wouldn't want to do acid damage
Right.
to it, and I think probably there's that might suggest that like electricity is a good idea, or or just general like force damage or whatever that's like gonna probably hit something regardless of its acidity. But and it's gonna be wet, so like I don't think fire damage is a great idea.
David, have you looked at wounding? It applies to a piercing or slashing melee weapon. And
Okay.
when you hit a creature with a wounding weapon, you deal 1d6 persistent bleed. So when Mag swaps around the
To pierce.
part of her hammer, she could do
Yeah.
bleed damage to stuff.
All right, dig it.
Um,
Dig it. What the hell is conducting? Well, anyway, now I'm just reading stuff as I go. So that was the handful. Most of the ones that I came up with, like last session,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, runes. Were the levels were
Okay.
too high.
Let's play it this way. That the blacksmith looks at you and is like, I think I know exactly what it is that you need on your weapon.
Yeah.
You'll find out later. And it's a thing I put on you as a special little surprise.
And Mag says, well, we've only just met, but I do get the sense that you know exactly what it is that I'm about to fight and how it is that I fight. So I trust you entirely.
He mops his sweaty brow and flicks it off into the hot coals in front of him and spatters, smokes, or steams, sizzles. Just like, you got it. This is why I don't wear a shirt here. Because it's so hot. Right.
Mag just swallows once.
Trill rolls her eyes. She's not impressed this time around.
And what are we doing with this armor rune? Who wants better armor? Who's going to get hit?
I mean, I'd happily take better armor, but Istin is like built around armor, no?
I think Istin's been getting beat around
That
pretty
is
well recently.
true.
that is also
Yes,
That
true.
is
However,
so true.
And it is sort of an
Istin
economy
gets-
of actions
mushroom
if we
Yeah.
have to spend
did
money.
almost
Istin gets
kill him,
close
yeah.
enough with essentially a very large enemy who's going to have a wide reach. Istin needs to get a little closer
Yeah.
than I think.
I'm anticipating a lot of cones of damage.
Yeah.
A lot of damage.
Yeah, that sounds... All right, I won't say no. Twist my arm, why don't you?
He says to Isthany, he's like, I'm going to need your armor if I'm going to put this rune on it.
Right. Istin takes his shirt off.
How about a quenching rune. This rune counters burning and corrosive agents. Armor with this rune reduces DC of flat check to end persistent acid or fire damage affecting you. I guess it's only persistent, but
What level is it?
6?
Here's what I'm going to say. We're going to move on from here, and we can retcon stuff if needed and handle these questions and any others off camera. Is that okay with people?
Definitely.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
So you settle into bed in Ildaris. Who's sharing rooms? Who's bunking up together?
I feel like it would be Mag and Trill.
Yeah.
And then Istin and Ao, but
Yeah, it feels like an even distribution of like size in the rooms.
And have we talked about, obviously Mag is a little spoon. I assume Trill is big spoon?
Trill would be, but Mag's hair gets stuck in her mouth.
Okay, so maybe we're back to backsies.
Yeah, Trill takes her wig off.
I always call
Okay.
that jetpacking. You know,
Maybe Trill goes to sleep on one side of the bed and Mag curls up at the foot of the bed.
Like her little cat.
Yeah.
If you look at the map, you'll notice that there are 2 beds in this room.
Oh.
So that's fine. We'll just
Whatever.
put your there they
No,
are.
it's
Good.
fine. We could be civilized.
And Irabo, the guard that first met you, walks by and says, "It is good to see you again. I'm glad that you were able to survive the threats posed by fungus in our hunting grounds."
Istin calls from down the hall. I almost didn't.
All right. Everybody, good night.
Good night.
Ooh, can I get a glass of water?
Yes, sorry.
I want bubbly water.
are there any lights down here? It's kind of dark.
No, we don't have lights.
Instead of brushing my teeth with this toothbrush, I just held it for a while I did a bunch of other stuff in the bathroom.
You got to start from somewhere. We'll allow it. So you head to bed for the night. Your first night, right? Away from Otari, right?
Like
Am I
summer
correct?
camp.
Did
Yeah.
we spend a night in Absalom? Or did we head back the same day?
That was a magical.
Yeah, we went through the portal just to turn someone's soul over to a devil and then went back home.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we were there like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was quick, easy breezy.
I don't get why everyone's so hung up on this.
Just haven't processed.
We
I
got to
really
skip
still
like a-
feel complicated about that.
But we got to skip like a bunch of combats, so...
Okay. When you awake the next morning, you head to the mess hall that the drow eat their meals in.
Oh, hey Lars.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Please.
So since we slept,
Yes.
Drought.
Trill's got that lore that she can change when she sleeps, right?
You spend
new
a
day?
day of work on it. Yeah.
I would have to spend a day of work on it. Oh, okay.
I think so. Yeah.
I couldn't remember. I thought it'd be helpful to change it to dragon lore.
If you want to, what you could do is it's 8 hours, I believe. Let's just take a look at it. 8 hours for gnome inspiration, right?
Yeah.
Gnome obsession. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Yeah, no obsession. It's okay if we maybe spend a quick 8 hours for Trill's scrolling through the, library or game room or whatever they've got down
I
here.
assume the crafting is going to take that long anyway, no?
Yeah.
I think it's reasonable to
Oh
line
yeah,
those
so while the
things up.
crafting
Yeah.
is happening, because Trill isn't taking any runes, Trill's gonna read up on dragon lore and change that to dragon lore.
One good thing about sleeping outside of Otari, which we never do, and we often sort of, just roll over between episodes, is that this is reminding me yet again that Frown gives me the ability to reuse a spell in a given day, which I've literally never once done in 183 episodes. Innate Surge could be helpful. Hasn't been so far.
It's coming though. It's
Yeah.
definitely coming.
One of
I can
these
feel it.
days.
So you settle in for a meal at the mess hall that the hunters of Ildaris eat at, and you see like the various drow sharpshooters and wardens, and Quara Urshendiel is there, and she notes you and she says, "How goes your journey so far?"
It's kind of wild how it's like we're above ground, but we're just in this like limitless cavern underneath the level, underneath like the world's crust, and it's kind of hard to wrap my brain around.
Yes. I imagine that if I were to venture to your lands above with sunshine and what have you, I would be similarly confused. It is nice that we're able to share a meal together, even though we come from such different worlds. I hope that you make good progress today on the issue you had with the dragon, and
Oh, thank you. That's
and also,
nice.
if you learn anything about the lenses or Kerfel's Roca sword, I'm anxious to hear more from you on that. And you sense that she's like tense about that. But she continues eating her meal, and she wishes you a good luck and good tidings as you finish this meal and start to venture out for another jaunt into the hunting grounds. You step into the rolling fields of the Drow hunting grounds where you first found the Reaper Skull puffballs.
Turns out they regenerate, and we have to redo the fight.
Oh god.
The spores that they exploded in have fallen onto the fungal outcroppings that you fought them in, and aside from like the footprints of insects that seem to have walked through the spores in the intervening time, perhaps to reintegrate these spores into the landscape of the hunting grounds, the scene is identical to as you have left it.
Lars, quick question.
Yes, please.
Can Istin use ignition to burn all of the spores?
I think that's a great idea. Yes, you can.
It's been a while since we burned dead bodies together.
It smells like umami.
In front of you, in the distance, you can see the lodge where you had this conversation with Galudu. She mentioned to you that the lair of the dragon was here to the east. What will you do?
So I think we more or less know where to head at this point.
Agreed. Let's head east.
Okay. So you venture.
Oh, man. Ugh, it's crazy. This is actually happening. Sorry.
I'm so excited.
I think we want to
I'm so
take
scared.
some various things to try and have resistance and stuff, right?
Yes, we have some. I don't remember if
we
it
have
was spells or
inventory.
Potions.
potions, things to drink.
I mean, I'd feel like right before we go in, Bravo's brew probably.
We have potions of resistance lesser.
Yeah, I think that was all we could afford.
I could give this one that I have to Trill or Ao, because I'm going to be able to cast resistance. I believe I have it at level 4, which heightens the resistance to 10.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
Trill
have
would-
one resistance potion, so I don't need one.
Yeah,
right
Trill
now.
could take that and throw that in her wig.
Okay, I'll give that to Trill then.
So you distribute the potions that you need between each other, and you move towards the east. The wall of the cavern slips to the northeast, passing by this building that you entered where you found the Caligny to your northwest, past a large natural stone pillar descending from the ceiling of the cavern. So there's one piece of art that I want to show you that shows this lodge here in
Wow.
the hunting grounds. It doesn't quite match up to the description because that window,
Cool.
according to what it is that we've described, should be like hidden. It should be just like a stone wall.
Right.
But that's essentially what you're seeing. You're seeing this lodge. Behind it, you see that large column that contains that void energy, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
It just shows how like this building is dwarfed by the dimensions of the hunting grounds in a way that I think is really cool. So that's what you see as you slip by towards the northeast. And eventually you find your way to a place where the landscape changes. You step forward through another of these large outgrowths of fungus, and you find yourselves at the edge of a swamp. There's a morass of mud sprouting thick fungus and clinging vines on the floor of this cavern as you step into the mud and it squelches. Just at the edge of the swamp, you find something that you recognize. Another pair of feathers tied together with gold ribbon. If you reach down to pick it up, you realize that they're everywhere around here. Like, tucked underneath a stone, set into the mud. There are plants, like creeper vines, growing around the floor of the thing. You reach forward and you pluck one out of there. It's like the kind of thing that you first see one, it draws your attention, then you notice they're everywhere, like an invasive species. And this swamp leads forward to the northeast. What do you do?
Do we want to do the potions and
Yeah.
spell now? It lasts
I
for
think
10
so.
minutes, so
I was
think
certain,
so.
or, as far up as we can get while still being reasonably clear that we're out of sight.
Yeah.
So we want to be quiet.
Okay.
So should we all
So-
be
Because
trying
they'll
to
last like
sneak?
an hour or whatever, but yeah.
okay.
It's like, are we going to encounter anything else before we get there that's going to take up our hour of, are there going to be little vines that we have to fight that use up our hour with our stuff? That's the only thing I'm asking myself, but
And Ao is also going to put on her cloak, like as soon as they step into this mud and go invisible.
So that sounds to me like Ao is avoiding notice.
Correct.
Mag and Isthin are using the resist energy from Isthin's spell that lasts for 10 minutes. And Trill and Ao are using the resist acid from these
Potions.
potions, which last for an hour but is less resistance. Ao turns invisible and is now avoiding notice. What would you say the rest of your exploration activities are? It sounds like Mag is like scouting based on what you're describing.
scouting as hard as she's ever scouted in her life, yes.
I think Trill would be sneaking. Trill's trying to avoid notice as well.
Then we'll be
She
searching.
maybe like has a hood that she covers her iridescent wig with.
Okay.
Is it wild to have Mag flying at the outset?
I'm down.
I go wait.
Okay.
See how tall this cavern is.
You step forward into the swamp. Isthin notices a trowel entwined inside one of these vines. Mag recognizes this immediately as a trowel that went missing from her parents' homestead years and years and years ago.
Oh, that's messed up.
Something she used to play with, perhaps, something she used to dig with. You step deeper into the swamp. And Isthin finds, as he's searching around, stuck into the mud on the northern side of the swamp, something else from Mag's childhood, a scarecrow that's just sort of saturated with mud, sunk into the mud. You continue stepping forward to the north.
And I think these things, they have to be affecting
Yeah,
Mag.
what does
I
Mag
mean,
say?
I don't think she's... Well, I guess she would let the others know that she recognizes, she reaches down and picks up the trowel, and maybe she holds out the handle, which is, which has the Skull Crusher family rune, carved into it, which they will all recognize. So we're not exchanging many words, but everybody gets a message about what's going on here, and Mag is not literally raging, but I think she's probably going to be drifting pretty far away.
Yeah. You continue to the north, and the cavern gets tighter and tighter. About 20 feet up, you're almost squeezing shoulder width through a tight crevice in the cave. You continue squelching your way through this mud, through this muck, this swamp that seems to have been generated here underground. And then you slip into a large cavern
Ooh.
Whoa.
that has a map that is big enough to handle what it is that we're doing today, rather than the goddamn map that they put in the adventure.
As we walk in, and so this is a huge cavern, right?
Yes.
Can Trill put her hand on Mag and start casting Fly?
Yes. You can cast fly. No problem.
Awesome. So she's going to go and be whispering that spell, kind of like humming something, because it's got to be musical for her as they take in the cavern.
So a soft song whispered in Mag's ear, and you feel your feet start to lift up off of the ground, just gently.
And Mag tests the flight a little bit. Still a little new to her, but she almost like the way when a fighter is entering a combat's like entering the ring. She's like moving loose, sort of loosening up. And as she's doing that, she's testing her rise and fall and moving back and forth, getting the balance of flying.
So you turn the corner and you're standing on a rocky cliff covered with mud, swampy mud. You're looking out across this 10-foot cliff into a thick, brackish sludge. And in that sludge, you see Ravarex curled up like a cat at the bottom of this crevice. Let's take a look at Ravarex.
Whoa.
As you see the dragon, you are struck by a sense of fear. I need everybody to give me a will save, please.
Okay.
As you are subjected to this dragon's frightful presence.
That was quite a range.
Okay. How did Ao do?
I think Ao is well and truly focused on this thing's teeth, which are glorious, and is feeling very ready and rolled a 20 for a 34.
Okay, critical success. You are unaffected. Ao doesn't see what's so frightening about this situation. How did Trill do?
Trill didn't do great. Trill got a 22.
Okay.
Trill, I think,
becomes
is a little intimidated by these teeth.
frightened 2.
Shit.
Ooh,
How does
sucks.
Mag do on this?
20
20
on the die.
on the die. Oh my
That's perfect.
God.
That's so
Nice.
good.
Mag is
Mag is
ready.
Ravarex.
right, the
Un-
flyer and the invisible character are good.
Unaffected. How did Istin do on this?
1 on the die.
Oh.
Istin is frightened 4.
Bullshit! It's a fucking dragon! Damn it! Oh, it's huge!
And hovering above Istin, Mag says, of course it's a dragon. That's what I came here to fight.
Right, I
So
know,
bad.
but I didn't know it was with the claws and the teeth and the tail and the...
Just as your investigation suggested, this dragon is covered with shiny purple-black scales like a fish. His long tail is wrapped around his body, tickling his nose with like translucent cartilaginous fins at the tail's tip. There's a sextet of bronze horns sitting above a pair of shiny red eyes, which stare at you intently from down below as you enter the room, as though the dragon had expected you. He opens his mouth to speak, and as he does, a slow trickle of neon green poison falls from his mouth, providing a harsh contrast to his sweet words. Ah, the girl and her friends here at last. I had become worried. It is nice to see you, and nice to be seen at last, I suppose. welcome to my home. Your home, in a way. And we will pick up from there next time.
Dope.
I
Your
am
home
so
in a way is so
hyped.
saucy when you've been stealing shit from someone's home for 20 years.
The Roots of Ruin is a Tabletop Gold production produced under the Paizo Incorporated fan content policy, using trademarks and copyrights owned by Paizo that are covered under that policy. The Roots of Ruin is not published, endorsed, or specifically approved by Paizo. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, visit paizo.com. All original characters and content in The Roots of Ruin are the property of Tabletop Gold, and all rights are reserved. We at Tabletop Gold would love to hear from you. Visit our website, tabletopgold.com, to learn more about us and our shows, join the Golden Horde to get access to more shows, pick up great merch, and connect to the best online community in all of podcasting. Thanks for listening.